Alright, I might as well just go for this ride trade. This ride threw me for a loop. It took me for a ride. Here is the ride daily chart. We're focused on this macro level. I've been trying to build a position into this chart. Because we've been seeing these electric vehicle stocks go off like crazy, and we just saw Workhorse have a very similar pattern, and it resulted in a huge breakout. And that's what I was looking for in this ride. And I did some good, did some bad. We'll go over it right here. My first entry was, I had a great entry. I was huge. It wasn't a feeler. It was right here. It was this 25 versus 24. So $1.25 risk. Now, I could have just had that been all my stock. It done very well in the trade, but I see this bigger level. I'm going to attack it a little bit. So I'm sitting in the stock. Oh, where was it? Okay, yeah, so I'm sitting in the stock, and I'm sitting these days, and I have such a large position. This name goes up and down 10% every day. You know, it's a $25 name, but it moves $2, $3, $4 a day. So it's not very easy if you have a lot of size in that regard. So then, gives us this daily flag, and this is where I begin making mistakes, and it was mostly based off size mistakes. So you'll see, this only gives me 7 days of data. I had this huge position from this day, and then I added on this day huge. Now I took off the ads, trying to get them, intraday a little bit. You can see, I very quickly took off the ads that I bought here. But here's my mistake in the trade. The stock came back to me. I was looking at it as a failed breakout, but really I just had a ton of stock, so I was getting emotional about my position, and I hit out when it took out that intraday low, and then it recovered most of the day. We can look on a 15-minute chart. It was right here, right this area right here. This area right here. So you can see I added here, I kicked some into this pop, but then it comes out, takes that low of day out as the market's starting to roll over a little bit. I get nervous, I get out of way too much stock when I know that true support is down at this 26, but I didn't want to give away my whole trade. So I get out of this stock, and then it recovers most of the day, and I get lucky that it pulls in a bit. So what happens is, I get out of most of my position on this day, and it ends up recovering, and then I have the most difficult decision to make, which ends up being a great decision, but it was a very difficult decision to make, where it's, do I buy that stock back 10-15% higher because the trade's still in motion, in the name? And I ended up doing so, and then I took off the risk of all the ad into the pop. So then next day, I get some bad luck on my side. It gets this huge Morgan Stanley downgrade, and I get out all my stock. But the thing was, I bought and resold the stock into this 31, 32, and I sold it. And that ended up being a great decision. You can look back on this trade and say there, a lot of things. Maybe if it didn't work at all, maybe I shouldn't have bought that back. It's tricky when there's so many buys and sells, and you're trying to take advantage of weekly resistance level, things like that. But overall, what I did well was buying things against levels. That's when I always did well. And then not hesitating when I needed to re-enter, and then kick stock into strength. Those are the things that did really well. The things that did poorly were getting emotional, not obeying these levels, not obeying support and resistance levels. And I would say that was my biggest mistake in the trade, was getting a little nervous with too much stock and whatever it may be, thinking P&L. And I had a great conversation about a very new trader about this trade, and I was talking about how you can improve so much in trading, you can do all these things, but your mistakes only come down to about a handful of mistakes, whether it be, and it's different for everyone. For me, it could be oversizing. I'm always trying to build up my size. Too small time frame. Sometimes I'm over day trading. Sometimes I'm reading the tape too much. Again, these things can work in my favor a lot, but again, if I don't do them properly and correctly and I use them at the wrong time, then it becomes a mistake. So it's about knowing when and when not to use it. But it's funny. It's like sizing. That's like a day one issue. Not obeying stops, day one issue, things like that. So in trading, I feel you're only going to go through a handful of problems numerous times with various different sizes. That's really all I got today.
All right.
But yeah, that ride was definitely a great lesson.
All right, I got two quick ones. First one is this DHI. If you want to pull the chart up. There we go. And we talk about the lessons learned. So even for me, we talk about our own little problems. Like for me, I typically buy once or twice. I typically just trail it, and I just let the stock kind of push me out of it. And that's where me and Jake have had these combos of focusing on the pivots, or taking some off into resistance, and these things that I've worked on. So like in this DHI trade, we bought up to the flag through 78, very tight risk entry, worked, had a great 3-day move. And and we've continuously hammered down why we want to sell into that first retest. For DHI, it was selling into that 83. That was our prior high into this move. We were expecting some sellers to be there. So I had limit orders out to take profits under 83. So limit sell orders, 82, 89 to sell in front of that figure, that whole number. And then again, when we get those retests, you tend to get some traders who are also still chasing, and you'll see sometimes it won't hold it exactly. So I had another order of dollar higher, 83, 89 in front of the 84 figure, and I got taken out some, 2 days later. And then I moved the stop up. So typically I wouldn't have limit sell orders out. I typically don't use them. I just typically buy once or twice, build into the position, and then get stopped out. But again, trying to learn and adapt a little bit, I put some limit orders out there to take some profits for a small portion of the position. And in this situation, it was beneficial because I sold 20%, 10% and 10% of that position, for $5 and $6 versus getting stopped out for just $2, which I got stopped out for the rest of the position today. So this was kind of picking out more of Shake's wheelhouse, and it worked in this trade. Definitely made more of it as a result. Next is this BABA. This is a trade that we're kind of still all in. And again, mentioned just how we're building into the position. So we saw how this 270 has been resistance, and we started to pick some up, or I started to pick some up through this 270. Had a nice move the first day, came right back and added again to 270. So now still in it, up, I guess, $1.50 right now where the market is, but stop is still versus 260, so I'm still risking $10 in the name. I can't be looking to sell here. I can't really be looking to sell at 280. I still need to really be patient with this, but like we talked about with time frame, and really hold for that retest, versus that proper out, versus trying to get cute with it and upping the stop versus break even or versus the prior day low. I have to just give it the proper time, give it versus at 260, and wait for that retest. And that was again lesson with like this CRM, which is working beautifully. This is one also where tried to get too cute with it and got shooken out of a lot in this inconsequential 3-day pullback. I still have some in it, but not enough where had I just gave it the proper room, gave it the proper stop, and let it continue to work, it's doing exactly what it should be doing. I just play with the levers too much and don't have enough for what I should have. So that's kind of taking that CRM lesson into this BABA one, where it's just sit on the hands, give it the proper room for now and let it do what it has to do.